been saying since December last year, please do whatever you can within your power to make sure that you stay dehydrated. That means you should endeavor to take enough water. Yes, it may look like a simple message. It may look like what's he saying. Don't worry. I don't pray you fall sick, because the cost of getting treatment in this country is something else. A friend of mine, tweeted earlier today, and he says, even if God gives you good health, that actualizing that good health is dependent on how much money you have to afford quality medical service in Nigeria. And that's just the sad reality of what we're dealing with. So you won't even know how much having enough water in your system, you won't know how much keeping yourself dehydrated would help you to stay healthy and away from the hospital. Once again, you're welcome to the show. It's the Monday edition, the first edition of the show for the week. And you know what? It's always turbocharged. How did your weekend go? And then it's a conversation that had dominated the space all around. The performance of Kendrick Lamar, which a lot of people had rated as arguably the greatest rapper alive. Well, I'm sure you enjoyed yourself on the buzz. You have to join Kunle Daniels. He called him the good guy with the bad intentions, Jaydan, and his beautiful co-host, BB the Biggest B, every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 3 to 4 p.m. on Mainland FM. You get all of the stories, the juiciest gist from across the world, especially in the world of entertainment. Well, this is politics, and that's exactly what we hear in the Situation Room. If you're joining us for the first time, we always do this every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. 90 straight minutes of conversation around politics, leadership, development, accountability within the public space, even within the organized private sector. My friend would always say, get where touch. Exactly. So on this show, we also give you experts, people that are well grounded, in whatever conversation we choose to talk about today. We're going to be looking at, state creation, democracy, and the essence of the same. Last week, news filtered in that members of the House of Representatives have recommended that 31 more states should be created. But yesterday night, I watched the interview of the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Benjamin Kalu, and he explained what happened on the floor of the House. He said, hey, you know what? It wasn't that we already agreed or recommended creation of same. What we basically did was we welcomed all of the requests from the House of Reps members that had their constituency consultation, and all of their constituents demanded that they want additional states. And then that was what he read to the floor of the House. So it wasn't like the House of Representatives had recommended. I mean, the process of having a state creation or local government creation is well captured in the section 8 subsection 1 A B C of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended. So the process is very much there for every one of us to see. Unfortunately, a lot of us don't even get familiar with the with the constitution of the country. But you can help yourself to understand that the process of state creation is absolutely very tedious. I mean, it goes a lot. You have to involve boundary commission into it. You have to involve a lot of things into it. But of course, the question I've been asking is this: how much would state creation help in the challenge that we have in this country as we speak? We have a 36 state and the FCT that we are still struggling to maintain, to keep afloat. The conversation around state police, the conversation around SIEC, that is State Independent Electoral Commission, the powers that the government have, the governors have rather, and more importantly, the real autonomy of the local government, which is really important. Needless to say that we have a democracy that, as fragile as it is, and people are still trying to put their foot on it so that it bows to individuals rather than institutions. Once again, you're welcome to the Situation Room. If you're meeting me for the first time, my name is 광🏆 Akindele, and I'm the host. We get to do this together every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. Well, my guest I have two guests today actually. One is an experienced politician, and the other one is a member of the academia. So I'm going to balance both conversations today. So you need to pull a cushion, relax, and enjoy the ride on the show today. But now, my guest is already on the phone. But before I bring him on, one of the things we need to respect is the sanctity of the institution that we hold there. And more importantly is how Nigerians view democracy. Unfortunately, in this part of the world, we have a democracy that have allowed individuals to be more powerful than institutions of government. We have a democracy where individuals, because democratically elected people have refused to dance to their tune, they can wake up and say, hey, you're done and dusted. Now, I'm coming home. This drama that had followed the impeachment of the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, doesn't seem to go away anytime soon. Last week, all through the week, we're getting memos and conversation around, some House of Assembly members that want to write an apology letter to Mr. President, and they want to bring in Mudashiru to come back and then resign voluntarily. But remember, the institution of government says that the overbearing nature of the the overbearing nature of the executive should not in any way influence the operation of the House of Assembly. It is supposed to be a system of government or an arm of government that provides checks and balances to the excesses of the executive. But the other way around is what we experience every day. Have it also in mind that the power of the local government is also subjected to the whims and caprices of the state governors, because they choose who coordinates the elections at the local government level. Needless to also say that the local government seems to be at the choke of the governors, because they decide who gets what. But should the House of Assembly also be the same thing? You also ask yourself again. We've seen situations where speakers are probably thrown out because they don't exactly align with certain school of thought. But the story of Lagos, that seems to be the model of the House of Assembly, that seems to be the perfect House of Assembly in Lagos, that produced the first female speaker of the Lagos House of Assembly, Right Honorable Miranda. A lot of people have asked questions. What exactly is responsible for making Lagos the way it is in terms of its domestic politics? However, event of the last few weeks seems to shake the foundation of that confidence to the root core. If anything happens this week, and the question of whether Obasa returns to the House of Assembly means that the current Deputy Speaker, Madam Speaker, will have to vacate her seat. Is this the power of the GAC, the Governor's Advisory Council, or it is the overbearing nature of the President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? The next couple of days will tell us who exactly owns Lagos, whether it's these Lagosians or the powers that be in Lagos. Let's keep our fingers crossed and keep your dialogue only on Mainland 98.3 FM. You get the best of those stories. Now, let me bring in my guest. My guest is joining me all the way from Belgium. Is Mr. Collins Nweke. He's a former councillor at Ostend City Council in Belgium. Mr. Collins, I had to pull you out of a very important meeting to be on the show today, and I thank you and I welcome you.
My pleasure to be with you, Oᴏᴜ. It's a pleasure to be with Mainland FM. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome to Lagos and welcome to Nigeria. And by the way, we're streaming this program on all our social media platforms. You can go on facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM, or you go on YouTube/mainland FM. You can watch us live so that you don't miss any part of the program. Now, Mr. Collins, let's get straight up into this. I'm sure you've, in as much as you're away, but they always say that the world is a global village right now. So you can be in Belgium and literally be, following 247 everything that is happening right here in Nigeria. And I believe that's what you've been doing. But let's talk about your political experience. You've been in the space. You voluntarily decided not to run for office for another term after, completing your tenure as a councillor. Talk to us about your experience over there and how you feel we run our own kind of democracy in Nigeria. That question brought out a smile on my face because I know the answer I'm probably going to get.
I'm actually also wearing a smile here because that's a very interesting question, Oᴏᴜ. The point is this: each jurisdiction of the world politically has its own idiosyncrasies. Now, Nigeria can never be Belgium, and Belgium can never be United States of America, but there is one thing that is supposed to underline every democracy, and that is the fact that at the heart, at the center of every democracy, is supposed to be the people. You and I and other, ordinary citizens, especially the most vulnerable in the society. Now, over the past 18 years, having served, 3 terms as councillor, each term in my region here is 6 years. Having done so for 3 terms, totaling 18 years.
18 years.
I was, very much privileged to be at the heart of, serving the needs of the people, particularly the downtrodden. I mean, the most vulnerable people in the society. I must say that my last term as councillor was exclusively as councillor for social affairs. So which meant that issues around, breaking what we call generational poverty, poverty passed on from father to son, and, so on and so forth, sometimes going up to 3 generations back. Those are the sort of things that occupied my day, every day, for the last 6 years. And then also you look at, inequality. So take, for instance, the fact that it can no longer be tolerated that, some kids, because the pockets of their parents are not deep, do not have, the facilities at home to do their homework, for instance, laptop or computer, and that they don't have internet. Those are the sort of things that occupy my time, and I'm, so very happy to actually talk about the fact that we were able, in that period, to sort all of those issues out. Now, in comparison with Nigeria, what you get is that the elected set of individuals that occupy political office are basically there to serve their own personal interests and those of their families and cronies. That is a sharp contrast. That isn't what politics should be all about. Politics should be about people, and I do hope that the new crop of politicians, people of your generation, the Z generation, the millennials, will imbibe that virtue of politics being a service to the people and not a service to the politicians.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
I hope you heard all that
I did.
said.
I did everything from start to finish.
Oh.
But then I think the last part of what you said actually, got me laughing. If you said that my generation, you hope we can imbibe, that culture of what politics should be about the people. I just laughed because if you look at the reality around us, it's even looking more scary. It looks like the crop of people we have now are just ready to step into the shoes of the people that, in quotes, mentors them in terms of what they want to get as well. Just getting quick fix, amaze as much wealth as you can to yourself, which is quite scary. But let's get back into the conversation. I know you've been in tune with the issue of the additional state creation as we speak, that could take the country to 67 states. At the moment, we have 36, and then we have the FCT, which is Abuja, which is not recognized as a state, supposed to be the seat of power, the Federal Capital Territory. That is why they have a minister and not a governor. But, I mean, it has generated a lot of controversy on the basis of doctrine of necessity, Mr. Collins. Do you think this is what we need right now? I mean, you look at how these states have been suggested. If I had to go on and list all of the states, we probably won't leave here today. A lot of people are coming with the defense of, there's a lot of marginalization. Don't you think when the people have what they deserve from the government, there won't be need for all of these agitations? What do you make of that school of thoughts?
Well, what I make out of that school of thought, me, is the fact that we've got to, as a nation, actually get our priorities right. For a start, I want to make one declaration, and that declaration is the fact that I am not against, more state creation. As a matter of fact, I became a political adult in an environment that is here in Belgium, where every city is a local government of its own. So which means that they have their autonomy. So in Nigeria, you have 774 local governments, and Nigeria is actually about, let's say, 20 times the size of Belgium. Okay? So which means that, here in Belgium, we have, every city as a local government. And I know the dividend of that kind of decentralization of governance, resource allocation, and autonomy. So I think it would be funny for somebody like me to say that the creation of more states in Nigeria isn't a good thing. It is a good thing. But is it our priority at this moment? No, I don't believe it is our priority. And let me tell you what our priorities should be. Our priority number one should be a comprehensive review of the governance structure of Nigeria. If you get the governance structure of Nigeria, it doesn't even matter if we go back to the time when Nigeria was operating regions, okay? Where you have, even before there was the creation of the 12 states and then later, increased it and now it's 36, okay? So that comprehensive review will actually solve quite a lot of problems. And then there is also the issue of regional economic integration. Now, I don't see why Lagos State, for instance, and Ogun State, Ondo State, and all the states around there, why they cannot work together in economic matters. Okay, I see that coming in more and more, in terms of, for instance, railway line and so on and so forth. And then decentralization of fiscal federalism, strict viability criteria, and then also political and constitutional reform. These are the 5 most critical priorities of Nigeria. And once you get that sorted out, you will see that the states as they are today will be working perfectly well. But yeah, if they want to increase it to 67, well, that also has its advantages. But I believe that the major challenges are the ones I have just enumerated now. Top on the list being comprehensive review of governance structures.
Okay. You talked about fiscal federalism. You also talk about political and constitutional reforms. These 2 out of the 5 you listed seems to be the major priority of every single Nigerian right now. You look at the constitution we have, the 1999 constitution as amended. You look at how much lacunas we have in that constitution that constantly get exploited by the political class. I mean, it's a core that everybody seems to have gotten tired of. We need a constitution that is a people-based constitution, not the ones that was handed over to us prior to 1999 election. We all know how the genesis of that came up. But now let me also push this to you real quick. If you're advocating, like you said, that state creation is good, additional state is good and all of that, look at, we're talking about reducing cost of governance in this country. Last week, the president increased the budgets with an addition over 5 trillion naira. And then you look at all of these things. You look at what debt servicing is taking from our budget. You look at what recurring expenditures is also budget. It's almost like the citizens that are larger than the elite class are almost having nothing to show for it. Public transportation is in a bad place. The health sector is almost as good as non-existence. Quality education, security. We have all of these challenges that we are facing right now. Don't you think that, we should be in that place where we should sit down and have serious conversation around the constitutional review? Do you think we're due for a thorough review of the Nigerian constitution?
Yes, I do think, and resolutely too, that a review of the Nigerian constitution, but not only that, a political reform is, should be paramount in the list of priorities of Nigeria. And like I said earlier on, don't forget, while I support, creation of more states, I do believe that it is not the priority of the country at this particular moment that you and I are having this conversation. I listed as part of the priorities, that is part of those things they need to do, as, political and constitutional reform. And I am sure that you zeroed in on it, just as much as you zeroed in on, decentralization and fiscal federalism. Now, if more states are to be created, there should be clear economic and administrative criteria which should be established to ensure they are financially self-sustaining. So you have talked about the fact that at this moment, they are all scrambling, waiting for, handouts coming from Abuja. Well, if more states are to be created, one of the strict criteria has to be the fact that they should be able to work very hard on internally generated revenue so that they are self-sustaining rather than actually depending on
the government
Abuja.
at the federal.
Now, on the government. Now, let me say this. I mean, it's just like European Union. I mean, my country, Belgium, is part of the European Union. At the moment, you probably hear about, expansion of the European Union to include new states and new countries and all of that.
Yes.
Now, it just doesn't happen, Oᴘᴜ. It happens by the following of very strict criteria. So, if Nigeria wants to create that the region that is creation of to become a state. So you don't just get off from bed. The creation of state is becoming a political tool. It is not based on necessity or genuine developmental needs of the people, but just to service the ego and the deep pocket of some political individuals. It's not just about the people and developing the regions and all of that. So criteria very, very important, and self-sustenance is an integral part of that.
Okay. Before I let you go, because I know you have to be somewhere in the next 20 minutes or thereabout, let's go back to a statement you made, which is our own generation. The 2023 election, Mr. Collins, kind of created some, let me say, exposed what we've always had, which is our voting decision channel around different sentiment. People voted based on their religion. People voted based on certain determined convictions. People voted based on tribe. People voted based on political affiliation, whether it is good or bad, as long as this is who my party wants. And we're talking about a country where over 60% of the population are young people, agile people that should, be intelligent enough to make, how do I put it now, far-reaching political decisions based on conviction of credibility, competence, and capability, not based on the fact that, oh, this person speaks my language, oh, this person attends my church, oh, we worship together in the mosque, oh, this person is the choice. I mean, you imagine that younger people should be able to make informed decisions politically. How are we getting it wrong in this country that you think the other people around the world, I mean, you look at leadership structure in the world right now, younger people are taking over. You look at prime ministers, you look at president, you look at, parliamentarians around the world, 22, 25, younger people are really not just sitting or hanging around on the table. They are making those policies. What are we doing wrongly in terms of the youth population of this country that is not taking us to where we should be as a nation?
There is this thing called the Pareto principle, which presupposes that in every society, 80% of the people are either laissez-faire, that they just don't care, being indifferent, or outright stupid. While, on the other hand, you have 20% that are actually very conscious politically, economically, and otherwise, and have the mental capacity to get things done. Now, the disparity is striking. I mean, you can't compare. If you go into an exam and come out with 20%, you fail. But you see, that is the reality of the world we live in, not just in Nigeria, but in other parts of the world. The politicians in every country don't constitute more than 20%, but they are the ones that have their hands on the lever of power. Now, let me apply it to, the new generation. I'll be 60 this year, so which means that, I am one of those people that have failed young people of Nigeria, because the power is in the hands of my generation and has been in the hands of my generation and those of my parents long and up until now. So, no matter how we want to turn and twist it, we have failed our children and our grandchildren. The best that we can do in terms of making amends is to prepare them for the new leadership that Nigeria should have. Now, should it be the 100% of Nigerians that will be doing that? No, it's not possible. Applying the Pareto principle means that if you are able to get 20% of the new, young and vibrant generation to take interest in Nigeria, cultivate the right cultures and values, well, they will actually get the job done. So the challenge facing you and I, Oᴘᴜ, is do whatever we can, and part of it is this kind of conversation that we are having, to mobilize that 20% that is needed to make the change that Nigeria needs to join the committee of democratic, thriving, and prosperous world.
Okay. Lastly, I'm sure this is what a lot of people want to hear. You've been in that space for I don't know how long, but I know you held political office as a councillor for 18 years. That's a long time. And I know that probably people will be like, oh, councillor, because the way we see councillors here is almost like the start of your political journey. If you're not lucky enough to get a deputy governorship slot on a platter, or, get into the House of Reps because your father was a former governor or former, national leader of a political party, but you probably want to just grow your political journey from the grassroots. They'll tell you that start from a councillor. But I know that how we see councillors here is a bit different from, what you have over there. But talk to us. What do you think stands out our political experience here from what you have, where you're coming from? And in your own observation, what do you think the people should expect come 2027 general election in Nigeria? In 2 minutes.
Well, I'll do it in less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
For a start, people who choose to, keep their political engagement local, it is not because, they do not have the capacity to actually operate, at a different level. I'm not saying a higher level, because local government is an independent, autonomous level of its own with huge work to be done.
That is
those are the National Assembly.
Hold on, Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins,
yes.
Let me hold your thought. You just described the local government as it should be where you are presently.
Yes.
It's a different case from what we have here.
Absolutely. Sadly, that isn't the case in Nigeria. But the question is about, how it's obtained here. And so I'm trying to justify the decision to keep the politics local. Because don't forget, people are drawn into politics here for, different reasons. The major reason being the people. And where are the people? They are not at the federal level. The people are at the local level. Decisions taken at the federal level have got to be implemented by, people who know what they are doing at the local level. So it is an important political level, and some people choose to, stay there. For me, I didn't see any value in aspiring to the National Assembly. In 2014, I was a candidate for the European Parliament and performed very, very well, as a candidate. But that's a different matter, because the motivating factor then was to, get in that position where I can further, better relations between Europe and Africa in terms of trade and investment. But that's a story for another day. So you see, 2027, it is not too early now to start that mobilization process of young people, that 20% that I talked about, who will actually, and I saw quite a number of things, happen in the last election. Now, isn't it striking to you, Opeyemi, that in that Lagos where you are, that President Tinubu lost the presidential election to somebody from a different culture, somebody from a different, background, somebody from a different ethnic group. That tells you that there is hope for Nigeria if Nigeria gets better organized. We should not forget that we should not focus on only the, negative stories. There are a few positive stories, beautiful stories that Nigeria and Nigerians, particularly the young people, could build on, learn from those experiences, and take it up again in 2027.
Thank you so much, Mr. Collins Nweke. If you were to be in Nigeria, I will have started calling you Honorable Collins Nweke, because anybody that gets anybody that, even without winning an election, if you just contest for an election in this country, Honorable automatically comes with your name. So I will have called you Honorable Collins Nweke, but I'm sure you prefer I call you Mr. Collins Nweke, a former councillor at Ostend City Council in Belgium. Has been my guest on the show in the last 30 minutes or thereabout. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll keep in touch, and I will certainly reach back to you anytime soon. Thank you very much for your time.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
And
have a great day.
Have a great day as well. Thank you.
Those who could improve this situation for the good of all of us do not allow the opportunity to make things better for us. They make it better for themselves, for their comfort and their families. Cronyism is prevailing. Today, our rulers in Abuja and across some of their states, you know what they say to us when they remove subsidy and we say no? Hunger is increasing, they say so what? Unemployment is a cause, they say yes, we know. Why are the people hungry? Is then let them face death. That is what is in Abuja of today. The current way of governance make nation do the impossible. What it does, it makes poverty and the erosion of just society inevitable.
Let the poor breathe. Don't suffocate them. We have that responsibility.
Thank you very much and welcome back. My guest for the first part of the show was Mr. Collins Nweke. He joined me all the way from Belgium. He's a very experienced politician, of course, a Nigerian, that had been in that space. He was councillor for 18 years. And, when I was reading through his profile, quite impressive, by the way, it was said that there was a referendum by his constituents for him to come back for another term of 6 years. And he said no, that it was done and dusted. I mean, that's very rare. And then we had a conversation around state creation, to be or not to be, the doctrine of necessity. Do we really need it now, or the people deserve quality leadership? And if we can fix this country, nobody cares. If I'm in Taraba State, I'm thriving. If I'm in Kano, I'm thriving. If I'm in Abakaliki, I'm thriving. So I told you earlier, we're going to make a quick step into the academia. That is one of the best places where you can get, conversations like this going. And my guest today is coming in from the prestigious University of Lagos. Is Dr. Babatunde Waziri Adisa. He's a criminologist, a security expert. He's the subdean of Faculty of Social Sciences. He's also a lecturer in the Sociology Department of the University of Lagos. Dr. Adisa, good to have you on the show today, and thank you very much for being patient since the show started.
Good evening to the anchor. Good evening, Nigerians. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much for joining us. First off, let me also thank you for, putting your time and your commitment to one side to be with us on the show. And you've been waiting on the line since 4 o'clock when the show started. We appreciate you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So let's get straight up into the conversation, Dr. Adisa. I know very well that, you've been very familiar with events in the last, maybe, let me say 1 week on the table right now. And the bulk of the conversation have been around state creation. The Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, Right Honorable Benjamin Kalu, was on national TV yesterday and was trying to clear the air. He said, hey, you know what? It wasn't that we suggested or we proposed state creation. It was the House of Reps members that brought up, the reports they got from their constituents that they needed states. And he reeled out those states where the 31 states to be carved out from, and also Abuja would also be a federal capital to become Abuja state, back and forth. And a lot of people have come up to say that, is this what we need at the moment? But let me also bring you into this conversation. But before we even talk about this, let's quickly, talk about your own constituency, which is the student family. And let's talk about the student loan. Last week, the presidency came out to say that over 600,000 Nigerian students have benefited from that loan, running into billions of naira. What is your take on the student loan, and can you weigh the success or otherwise of that particular project?
Thank you, the anchor. On the students' loan, is it true? One can say that is a new approach to the funding of education in Nigeria. But we have to look at the problems of the education sector comprehensively, not from the angle of the loan. If a loan is given to the students for the school fee, for instance, what about public infrastructure? The hostel,
the lecture theaters,
the welfare of the lecturers who teach or who will teach the students, the facilities in the university, the electricity, energy. I just read online here that some students of University of Ibadan are protesting over the lack of electricity in the college hospital. So that's a major challenge. It's a problem. It's a comprehensive problem. It's not the issue of loan. That was why I said that it's not the issue of loan. If loan is given to a student, it does not solve the problem. And the federal government keeps establishing new universities. If you have 5 children and you are unable to, finance the 5 children, and you are still getting married to new wives, giving birth to new children, doesn't make sense. It's as if we are creating more problems, whereas we are supposed to solve existing problems. So I will support the education loan outside adequate funding of the university system.
Okay, so let me pick a major story today from the example you just gave now. That you've not solved the problem, and then you've not taken care of the kids that you have, and then you're having more children, you're having more wives. It takes us to the next conversation, which is state creation. We've struggled to stay afloat with the 36 states and the FCT. If you look at the indices of the dependence on budgetary allocation, you look at states like Bayelsa, 92%, almost absolute dependent on what is coming in from Abuja. We have states that are 75%, 81%, 67%. That means they can barely survive on what they generate. In fact, there are states in this country that their IGRs cannot maintain the government house alone. So let me apply what you just talked about, the student loan and the need for a general shake-up within the educational sector. Let's also bring it here right now. To create more states, to make it 67, or to walk around the ones that we have on ground. Where do we go from here, Dr. Adisa?
Okay, let me take it from the angle of democracy. Democracy has been defined as the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. The democracy is not one, it's not homogeneous. You have liberal democracy, market-centered democracy, that emphasizes the role of the market economy, capital accumulation. So irrespective of whether the poor is getting poorer, once the economy is wealth is being created and the state is getting more funds, no problem. You have a socialist democracy that emphasizes the role of the welfare state. The state is supposed to intervene where there is the presence of abject poverty, unemployment, where there is marginalization. So what we have currently in the country is the practice of liberal democracy, market-centered democracy, less emphasis on the welfare of the citizenry. And that will take me to the issue of Nigeria federalism. Since independence, there has been agitation for restructuring. What you have presently on the issue of state creation is still part of the agitation for state creation, for restructuring. But can you restructure outside a viable economy? You have to get the economy right. Karl Marx says that the key determinant of development is the material condition. Man is first and foremost a worker. And so this need must be satisfied. This idea of Marx has been reiterated in the work of Charles Darwin, Survivor, and then Herbert Spencer, Survivor of the Fittest. So if you can solve the problem of the economy, but you want to create a big political structure on a weak economy, that means that one day the entire state will collapse.
Okay. Dr. Adisa, I was reading through your profile, and I can deduce your stance on the state sustainability, which is welfare-based. And I think your positions, I've read quite a lot of articles that you've also written on this. And I must appreciate and acknowledge the fact that, I mean, it's a drive that you've taken really personal. Now, let's come to the issue of thorough welfareism. You just gave two instances now. The market-centered democracy, which is about economic buoyancy, whether the people are poor, just make sure that the economy is thriving, and just make sure that your foreign reserve is growing, even if the people are groaning under pain. That is what seems to be operational in the country right now. Whereas the kind of democracy that you stand for is the socialist democracy, where the state must intervene at different times when there's a need for it. Do you think if we flip the coin and we move to the socialist democracy, we still have these agitations for state creation? Because a lot of people have come out to say that the bulk of the reason why we're having this agitation is because the people feel disconnected from their government. The people feel marginalized. Do you think if you have a functional, system, we'll not have all of these agitations?
Before the state creation, let's look at the children. Before you can think of giving birth to new children, the children that you have on ground must be properly educated, must be catered for. The states that we have, how many of them are viable? Lagos, Rivers, Delta, those are the states that generate, high revenue from that can, sustain their people. So how many, we have 36 states. How many of them are viable to pay the new minimum wage, to fund primary education, to fund secondary education, to fund universities? And some of these states are still creating new universities. They're employing new staff. So we are creating problems in a society that requires comprehensive restructuring. It's the economy that must be restructured before we can think of new states. That's my position.
Okay. Now, you've made mention of restructuring and federalism as many times as I can remember in the last few minutes that we've been talking, Dr. Adisa. But very recently, it looks like maybe not on the surface, but if you understand the operations of development commissions, now all of the regions have development commissions. We have the North Central, the Northwest, the Southwest, the Niger Delta that have been there for a while. Is this a sign that the debate of fiscal federalism, or, you know, is this a sign that we're tilting towards that space anytime soon, Dr. Adisa?
You see, why the agitation is on now is because Nigeria has moved from what experts to federalism. In a federal society, you have strong regions, autonomous regions. Regions will be able to maximize the benefits of their regions. And what happened when we had the western region, the northern region, the eastern region? Western region, for instance, through late Chief Obafemi was able to fund free education. And we are reaping the benefits today. So, but what you have today is a situation whereby you have centralized federalism. The center has more power than the autonomous places, the states. And that's the problem. Once the center collapses, then other places will also collapse.
That scares me, because Dr. Adisa, they say that when things begin to fall apart, it is difficult for the center to hold. And then if you look at what we've been through from 1999, apart from a successful transition of, you know, our democratic process, I'm not sure if, you know, beyond 27 years of unbroken democracy, I'm not sure if we have enough to come out boldly and say, yes, we've lived, we've survived as a nation for those 27 years. What do you make of a system, Dr. Adisa, where individuals seems to be more powerful than institution of government? How do we fight this beast that seems to have confronted us and stood us to a position all this while? Hello?
So, yes, okay. Now I'm with you. I will take the question again, please.
Okay. I said, beyond us just celebrating, you know, maybe 26 years of unbroken democracy and all of that, if you look at where we are as a people, it doesn't look like we can come out and boldly say the 27 years journey has been worth the while in terms of development, in terms of how the government has touched primary health care center, secondary, you know, level of health provision, university education, just like you said, you know, the public infrastructures. You also look at security issues. It seems we have constant securities every day, challenges every day. But more importantly, which seems to be a bigger problem, Dr. Adisa, we have individuals that seems to be more powerful than institutions of government. How bad is still leading us, and what do we do about this?
I will use the example of three sectors: the health sector, the energy sector, as well as the education sector. Let me start with the health sector and use the COVID-19 crisis. When the COVID-19 crisis started, we were scared because we were not in the proper state to provide adequate healthcare services
for such pandemic.
So empirically, it showed that we were not ready with a viable, effective, efficient health sector. And that's one of the failures of democracy in Nigeria. That's the health sector. Now, let's take the energy sector. Electricity, in terms of the supply, has improved fairly. But this electricity collapse is a major challenge. We are overpricing our people. I told you earlier that we are practicing liberal democracy instead of socialist democracy. And some people in the rural areas, in urban squatter settlements, still, you know, agitate that they don't have access to electricity.
Sure.
It's one of the failures of democracy. Now, let's go to the education sector. Constant ASU strike is an indication of the failure of the education sector. ASU has been agitating that stop creating new universities, fund the existing universities, make them viable, make them globally competitive, so that the graduates that you produce will also be globally competitive. But the government at state and federal levels are creating more universities and giving them new names that ordinarily the existing universities, will be able to democracy. A responsive democracy is one that listens to the agitations of the people. A responsive democracy is one that is participatory. And you have to be systematic, even when you are listening to the people. It's not the right time for us to create new states. That's my position.
Okay, let's call it a day on the show. But before I let you go, Dr. Adisa, we've established some of the challenges. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine on Sunday morning, and not in Nigeria. And she was talking to me about the campaign. There's an upcoming election in the country she is, and then she was talking to me about how everyone is involved in the election. How people even in places of worship don't exactly care what party you belong to. It's about governance. It's about quality representation. What are we getting wrong? I know this question is going to lead us into maybe more questions, but I'm sure we'll open that conversation another time. Dr. Adisa, what are we getting wrong with our leadership decisions? And this is what I mean. The 2023 election tore us apart and literally broke the fiber of whatever it is we had left in this country. People voted or made political decisions based on sentiment, religious, tribal, political affiliation, not exactly from a place of genuine desire to vote the right people. And we're moving towards 2027, Dr. Adisa, and it looks like we're going to retain the status quo in terms of how people make the 27 general election in Nigeria, Dr. Adisa.
I will take it from the point of view of an serious about his life. Every day your age will increase.
True.
And any day that is wasted is gone. Described as a particularistic society. In a particularistic society, whether you have democracy or what do you call it, liberal democracy, voting and the rest, emphasis is more on particularistic interests, sentiment, ethnicity, religion, ideology, not on the quality of leadership. Although the decision of the current U.S. president, some of them may not be comfortable, but tells you the role that a leader, a purposeful leader, could take. And once you have a purposeful leader, other members of society will follow you. The day Nigeria is able to produce a president that is strategic, a governor that is strategic, an assembly member that is strategic and directional, that we are not going to allow external forces to exploit us, for instance. That is the day this issue of ethnicity, religion will reduce, and then we are going to throw a new path to development.
Okay. Dr. Adisa, I want to thank you for finding time to be with us on the show today. I can imagine how busy your schedule is, but you still took out time to join us on the show today. Thank you very much. Dr. Adisa is the Subdean of Faculty of Social Science. He's also a lecturer in the Sociology Department of the prestigious University of Jos. He's a University of Lagos. I beg your pardon. Yes, criminologist, a security expert, and like I said, he's also the Subdean of the faculty. Dr. Babatunde Waziri Adisa has been my guest on the show today. Thank you very much for finding time to be with us today.
Thank you, ma.
And have a very beautiful evening. Okay?
God bless you.
Thank you very much. Well, I don't know, maybe you've listened to my voice on the other side. Dr. Waziri kept using mama for me. I don't know, maybe I would come back. I would also bring you into the conversation We need to pay some bills, and I'll open the phone lines on 0913-600-0410. If you missed the start of this show, let me admit you've missed a lot, but hey, we've got you covered. Go on our social media platform, facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM, or you go on youtube.com, just search for Mainland FM. You can watch this program again and drop your comment. We'll certainly take it. It still continues, but we're due for a break. We'll be right back.
Follow us on all our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. On Twitter at Mainland FM. We are the sound of Lagos.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. The sound of Lagos.
Hi, Emeka.
Yemi, I learned that Betano is sending 3 football fans to England to watch the big game of Aston Villa versus Tottenham for free. Imagine us going there together. That would be amazing. Okay, bye.
What? He hung up to play.
Play with Betano and stand a chance to win an all-inclusive trip to the UK to watch live the big game of Aston Villa versus Tottenham. Betano, proud partner of Aston Villa. Play responsibly. Available only to those over the age of 18. The promo is valid from November 1st to February 28th, 2025.
Chai, my head oh. Oga landlord, why you dey shake like ceiling fan? Eh? My village people don't come again oh. This one with your body hot so, you don't do test? Yes, see result oh. Oga landlord, no be your village people oh. Na malaria, you need Luta. Luta na better medicine wey dey knack down malaria. Oya see am, take am. Thank you Oga Luta. I don't dey kampe.
Luta, brand of Artemata and Lumefantrine, is another quality product from Hovid, marketed by Pharmatex Nigeria Limited. If symptoms persist after 3 days, see your doctor.
Everybody saying thanks, Luta. Malaria's in big trouble.
Oga, this your engine don't kaput. After you don't make me repair. See the kind thing when you talk.
Oga, don't be my fault now. I sabi work oh. Now your engine no good. Hello, my engine.
My people, una sabi say one way to make sure say una motor and generator engine them work wella. Na to dey buy ogbonge quality petrol. That na why Dangote Refinery don't find way to refine their petrol to give us ogbonge quality straight run petrol. This na better quality petrol where you fit trust to. Time don't reach to care for una engine them. Buy better quality Dangote petrol.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your pilot speaking. Today we have some special passengers on board. 3 Betano members are going to England to watch Aston Villa live. Congratulations, Emeka, Yemi, Ibrahim.
Play with Betano and stand a chance to win an all-inclusive trip to the UK to watch live the big game of Aston Villa versus Tottenham. Betano, proud partner of Aston Villa. Play responsibly. Available only to those over the age of 18. The promo is valid from November 1st to February 28th, 2025.
For a decade, the Access Bank Lagos City Marathon has been more than just a race. It's been a collection of stories of ordinary people achieving the extraordinary. Every stride taken has created unforgettable memories of triumph, purpose, last a lifetime. Strides that leave a legacy. The 10th anniversary of the Access part of the journey, where every step becomes a story to remember.
The Access Bank Lagos City Marathon, celebrating 10 years of running. See you at the starting line.
Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were,
in our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday the perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about
Mr. President, there is no
elections. Give the seasoned analysts, opinion makers, Friday from 4 to 5.
The city.
You should always call it big shout. Amazing time, our counselor have lost touch with the reality. And from is also the sub-dean of the faculty. He's a criminologist. He's also a security expert, Dr. Babatunde Waziri Adisa. Also join us talk about do we really need more states right now? Is this the priority for the people? And he made a very simple analogy. If you have kids you've not been taking care of, why do you need to marry a new wife and have more children? Shouldn't you take care of the kids that you have? Well, I'm sure a lot of people will disagree. Like they will always say, give. And Article 8 and 9 explains clearly the process involved in the creation of, states. Little wonder, we've not had any state created since the last set was created by the former dictator, late Sani Abacha. We've not had any more state created after them. But how do we, get to this point where we asking for more states? Should we work with the ones we have? Let me have your thoughts. 09136000410 minutes so that we can take more calls. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, the descendant of Akeode, I greet you.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, Alabalakpa is my name. Greeting you from Ojo, Lagos.
Good to have you.
Okay, I think the analogy that you made concerning having children and wanted to having more children for not taking care, I think it does not go tally with the issue on ground. We are talking about state, and you guys are not considering the kind of job, the kind of development, the kind of closeness to the government and governance that will bring to the life and the environment of the people. You guys are not thinking toward that end. You are just thinking about in one single line that, we consider there is no money, there is no... Look, just look at it. In Lagos before, we are struggling with 20 local governments. My Ojo, with the addition of 2 SCDs, Oto-Awori and Iba, come and see the development that these 2 SCDs are giving to the lives of Ojo. The main local government is also there doing its own. So you guys, I want to beg you, look it in a way that will make us look that truly we need this state. I won't lie to you, we need this state. If we don't need it for anything, we need it. How governors will be closer to people. How Nigeria will benefit from what they have. Please, we need it. We should not do away with this. 36 states is not enough for us. Even if we can get that 60 something, I will be happy. Please, we need more states.
Okay, we have 774 local governments scattered across the federation, across the state, and of course we know how the FCT works. Perhaps we should just convert all of the local government to states, and then everybody would have, because I understand everybody's concerns, but the truth is this: we've got a lot of problems to deal with. Hello, good evening.
You're
welcome.
How was your weekend?
Well, stressful, but we're here to do the work.
I know you do happy. Chelsea lose, that's your happiness. Don't worry. Don't worry.
They'll lose again this Friday.
Don't worry. Now, aside that, for me, Ambassador Musa here from Michi.
You're welcome.
Creation of state, Nehi. Let me repeat myself. Creation of state, Nehi. You should collapse all the states and go back to region. That's my takes on that. Okay, me. Let's go back to region. Because when you go at these states, there are a lot of injustice in great states in Nigeria here. Let's go back to the region. We have our 6 governors soon. Let's go there. If we have a prime minister for which one, and let's do the needful. To me, this kind of state is like make the economy of Nigeria. It makes some people lazy. People just mind to Abuja every month, doing nothing in their state. Let's collapse it and start. And your guest said something I love. I agree to you. If you cannot mentor somebody in your local government, your own capacity, you are not done right. If I did not mentor somebody in my own capacity, just talk on radio, do nothing without mentor people, I'm not doing it right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Musbao. It's basically about providing the basics. 09136000410. What a session we're having. Your messages are also, dropping on Facebook. I will read them, but let me pick more calls. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Okpa.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I agree to your guest.
Yes, this is Malam Bello Osman. I am calling you currently from Igulu.
You're welcome, Malambelo.
Thank you very much. You see, for me, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think we need any other state in Nigeria. I even want all the states to be collapsed and go back to region like the last caller said, because I don't know the importance of state governors, because they are doing nothing. The only thing they do is to go to Abuja and collect money from allocation from Abuja and put it in their pocket. That's all. But if you go back to region, if you like, you develop your region. If you don't like, you leave your region. That is why we from the north, we are so backward. I have to be sincere with you, because all our governors, all our representatives do in the north is to remember only them. They don't remember any other thing. So, but if you go back to region, if we like as a north, we develop ourselves. If we don't like, then we remain as we are. Because if you go to the north, you see the most poorest people in the north. You see the most richest people in the north. Why not is so backward? We only benefited from the southeast, southwest. We don't generate anything. I want us to go back to the region. That is what I need. I don't want us to have any other city to give us more problem. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
And God bless you too. Thank you very much. 0913-600-0410. You're live on Mainland FM. It is the Situation Room, and I'm just taking feedbacks and responses from the two guests that I've had join us on the show. One all the way from Belgium, and the other the subdean of the Faculty of Social Sciences from University of Lagos, Dr. Babatunde Waziri Adisa. I mean, he went really, just exactly what I wanted. Some deep rooted combat the area of needed. To keep the people. Mr. Michael, good to have you on the show.
Totally favored. To become a governor, another part, other than it was doing a kind of time, and down, and we all know understand the drama that happened during that time. I also look at even in Benue, I think the majority always dominate, saying that there was some condition that if you have no
913-600. Okay, just flying up right now. Your name and where you calling from?
My name is Festus. I'm calling from Ikoton.
I didn't get your name, sir.
I said Festus from Ikoton.
Okay, Mr. Festus from Ikoton.
Good evening, sir.
You're welcome.
I love your program so much.
Thank you.
God bless you. Those are honorable them because they don't have anything to do. I suppose that when a man that is pounding yam is tired, you will begin to pursue growth. So because they don't have anything to do with it.
I'm struggling to hear you. I would appreciate if you can call back. I'll kindly appreciate if you can. Let me read some of the messages that we have on WhatsApp. Then I'll also go on Facebook. This one says, my name is Joshua. We thank God for life. Please let your guests know that lack of electricity supply is not only in the rural areas, but even in the township. I absolutely agree with you. Magboro, for instance, with a minimum population of about 500,000, sees electricity 4 hours in 24 hours. Mr. Joshua, let me correct that. Sometimes just 2 hours in 48 hours, because that's exactly where I stay. And I will tell you for a fact that ethically is wrong. That's why you've probably not heard me call out the distribution company responsible for electricity in Magboro. It's a mess and it's an eyesore. And I would always say this, until the government at every level is intentional about fixing the country, we're not making any progress. There is absolutely no local government presence in that particular axis, and it's under Obafemi Owode local government area of Ogun State. So you ask yourself, what is a disco supply from Ibadan doing with supplying electricity for Ogun State, a town or a local government that is already into Lagos? You should ask yourself. The electricity issue in Magboro is a disgrace, to say the least. So, Mr. Joshua, I absolutely understand what you're saying. Secondly, genuine elections can hold in Nigeria again since the 2023 general election, which was equivalent of 1993, which was mismanaged by INEC. Okay. Amokos, hi Okpeyemi, he said, ask Alabalakwe to tell you how smooth the road leading to Ojo local government is from his house. We don't need more states. We need people who are willing to make things work for this country to be at the helm of affairs. Then we can make progress from here. This is Steve Ofera from Ijanik. He says, why would you not have 31 more states when all we do is to go to the center and collect funds monthly? no matter how unviable they may be economically and otherwise. The funds are gotten from a certain region for the benefit of some lazy states and some lazy power mongers. If states are asked to do contributing funds to run the federation rationally, how many of them will be able to do so? The so-called rep members and other politicians have been fooling the people that they will create state for them as easy as possible. The reps in Nigeria are just too deceitful and idle, just manipulating the people with issues like this. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. This one says, good evening, Okwe. Your guests today spoke very well, and God bless them. On the issue of state creation, we cannot be close-minded about this conversation. If the people want more state, give them more state. It means more people will move from the current state and go to those states, meaning that there will be less concentration on states like Lagos and Ibadan, Port Harcourt and Abuja. Please, we need more state. Okay, thank you very much. That is Festus from Bagada. Okay, I'm also getting your message, Osimora from Brigade Military Barracks in Ikeja Cantonment. Thank you very much. Good evening. Concerning the issue of creating more states, I don't think that should be our priority this time around. Instead, we should make the existing ones to be more viable. That's Sɪᴛᴜᴜ from Mero. Okay, let me pick this call. Hello, good evening. Ooh. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you very well.
Okay. Your name and where are you calling from?
Ajibola calling you from Ikola.
Mr. Ajibola from Ikola. Good to have you on the show today.
I always say something, Mr. Akwe, and I will make it very quick. What this is not the system you are practicing that is the problem. Even if we practice regional government, it will still be the same. Why? Because we have strong men instead of strong institutions.
True.
So is it the kind? I'm very sorry to make to call a name. Is it the kind of the wicked that we put a regional government under? The person that is still fighting for the results of River State, even after 8 years of your reign in that state, and we have people like that. We have many like that. So and we move to regional government. They can hold on. They can hold on to the state as powerful as the state is now. And we now want to dedicate. It is not the kind of government they practice. It is the people that are practicing the government that really matter. And until we can hold them responsible for any kind of government they are practicing, if people can hold the military responsible, look at the 1993 protest that led to the democracy that we are fighting today. People we have killed. People are giving blala. How many people can hold the government responsible to this kind of thing again? No, that is what. It is the kind of system we practice. It is the kind of people that practice these things that really matter. If you can't hold them responsible now, practice any kind of government in this nation, it will still be the same story, the same thing every time, anytime. So no state, nothing. Let us continue like this. If you can't question these people, God bless this nation.
And God bless you too. Let me quickly go on Facebook. Wow. We've got loads of messages here. I know Karen says the problem is we don't know what makes up a state, that is the needed essentials. 31 states means more local government, more House of Assembly members, more retirement packages for the governors and the deputies, more cars, renovations. Currently, the governors are complaining of not being able to pay minimum wage. Now, more states, and someone is saying more development. So, what is the function of the local government? We're just joking. After 31 states, true, then more will still follow. I know Kayode says, let us tell ourselves the truth. What criteria are needed to create a state? Are the existing state fulfilling those conditions? Okay. Thank you very much, Father Rebumi, for your message. Abdurrafiu Alabalakwe says, please help me tell Mr. President that made the proposed Lagon state to an Aᴜrɪ state, because 98% of lands in Lagos are owned by the Aᴜrɪans. So we need Aᴜrɪ state, not Lagon state in Lagos. That's Alaba Alakwe. Okay. Kabra Adegbero says, to me, more creation of state at this time is not right for us. The existing 36 states should remain. God bless the country. John Bernardo says 25 years of democracy. What we have are strong individuals and weak institutions. On the issue of state creation, it is a complete waste of time. How are we going to manage 3 times 67 senators? high number of members of House of Representatives and 67 ministers, which is the minimum. Majority of the states we have are not even viable, and then we still want to add more. And let me pick more calls before we say our goodbyes on the show. 09136000410. I got a bit late. Let me read some of your messages. This one says, God bless Mainland FM. Thank you very much. On the issue of state creation, until we hold our governments accountable, we continue to make a mess of the situation. We're supposed to ask them, how do we want to function with the 36 states and the FCT that we have? Now we'll have 37 more governors. Okay, 31 more governors. We'll have, this is some huge calculation, 93 more House of Senators. That's what you said. You mean senators now? Then depends on how big the states are. How many House of Reps would they have? So all of these states would also have state houses of assembly. They would have councillors. They would have deputy governors. They would have deputy speakers. Thank you very much, Ayola from Bagada. Hello, Ufoma. Good to have you on the show.
Hey, good evening, Okoyemi.
You're welcome. It's a Monday.
Hey, yes, thank you. How was your service yesterday?
Well, I was home.
Oh, let's show you to the politics.
Let's go, Ufoma.
Yes, our House of Representatives, they are very lazy, Okoyemi. To be honest with you, we have not yet there at all. Both the senator, both the state house of assembly, both the House of Representatives, the councillor, the chairman, they just let my people go. Those are the people who are still having now. You know, a comfort. As your one normally said, provide us a play me. They try to go pay the play with.
Thank you very much, Ufoma. Well, that's about the size of the package today. It's been some amazing 90 minutes that I've spent with you this afternoon. 4 p.m. be auction, and then my next guest also had a quick trip into the academia.